Hey Ben,
Ooh.
how are you?
I'm okay, thank you. How are you
Excellent.
two?
We're good. Thank you so much for coming on the show, dude. This is going to
Are
be
you
It's going to be
welcome?
awesome.
really fun.
Uh,
So, go.
go, no, you go ahead.
Oh, God. This is going to be yeah, right. I know, right? Okay, I shut up. You talk now.
No, I was just going to compliment Ben on the really spectacular beardage you have going on here. This is excellent facial hair, sir.
This is the I'm too lazy to cut off my trim, so I don't have a handlebar anymore.
Yeah. Dude, it's been 18 months worth of. eh, we all got to do what we got to do, right?
Yeah, yeah. I'm just doing the itchy neck maintenance at the moment.
Smart move. Uh,
Especially in the weather, right?
with
Well, that's
with
the thing. It's either it stays short or I just have to commit to a full proper beard because it's not worth the itchiness for it to get through that stage. So at the moment, I'm keeping it short.
There you go.
my big indicator is with this. I know I've made the dreaded transition from pelt to hair when I wake up and have bedhead.
Yeah.
And when you have my hairline, bedhead just looks kind of sad, you know. So
No comment.
I love you.
I love you too. No comment.
Ben, before we get into this, we're doing
Yes.
an opening. You're going to do an opening monologue for us, yeah?
I am. Yes.
Indeed.
Shall I
Splendid.
just jump straight into it?
Yeah, go for it.
If you wanna.
Have a good time with it.
Okay. Yeah. Absolutely. So we've got In Strange Woods, Strange Truths. Editor's note, there are spoilers in here. There is a tax for living in small towns. No one tells you, but everyone knows. The tax is a life. It's a generational toll, that horrific moment where the law of averages collides with the natural world. I grew up on an island. We lost a kid to the sea one generation, and to cancer the one before that. He was one of my closest friends. His loss was my first encounter with mortality, an event that shaped my life at 16, and to some extent, it still does. In Stranger Woods revolves around a similar event. In a small Minnesota town, Jacob goes into the woods, vanishes, and then dies. His loss shatters the town, and his younger sister Peregrine, Lily Mae Harrington, finds herself drawn to the local survivalist, Howl. Voiced by Patrick Page, Howl is a Tom Waitsian ideal who looks like an archetypical unsub, but is bent double under the tragedy of his own. In an effort to understand her loss and to punch mortality in the face, Peregrine persuades him to teach her survival skills. Over the following months, her friends get caught up in the same curious orbit. The determined, intense, furious young woman, and the laconic, reluctant outsider. A man who represents both the edge of the village and the life that lies beyond it, the life they blame for the death of their friend. Working together, the group finds something bigger than the town, but for Peregrine, that isn't the point. The point is the final, when Hal will drive them into the woods and leave them alone with no idea where they are, minimal resources and one task: make it home alive. Carlos Garcia's show art, above, encapsulates everything about the show in a perfect frozen nutshell. A young figure, well-equipped but still small and fragile, faces the weather and the woods, which serve as both metaphorical and literal barrier. If Peregrine beats the final, she can go home. But if Peregrine beats the final, she won't want to. Another truth of small-town life reveals itself. Growing up is growing out, and sometimes that takes tremendous courage to realise. Courage is one of the defining traits of the show, especially in the gutsy way it mixes two formats. Presented by co-creator Brett Ryback as very much a straight-down-the-middle Bear Brooks-style true crime story, there's the distant, respectful tone, the sense of lurking menace and tragedy. Until suddenly things take a turn. The liminal space of the woods becomes the liminal space of genre. The theme tune becomes the refrain of the first song, mutating from a joyously lumpy substitute teacher comedy moment to escalating levels of menace. We get ghosts of rhyming structure in Brett's dialogue, and suddenly he belts out a single line. After that, everything's changed. The narrator is in the story. The footprints lead out into the woods. We're somewhere new and we are not prepared. That first song especially is fantastic, shifting from a phone conversation to recollections, from witnesses to Brett's still, mostly, distanced asides. The chaos of the unprecedented and the desperate need to know The chaos of the unprecedented and the desperate need to know colliding with the comforting lie of the small town. Creators Jeff Lupino Esposito, Brett Ryback and Matt Sav continually map the emotional state of the characters onto the songs and vice versa. Peregrine, played by Lily Mae Harrington, raps the refrain of Jacob's last advice to her. if something happens, come find me, like a garland of thorns living inside the nebulous, undefined failure she grapples with. Was it her perfect doomed brother, herself, or the lifestyle she's rejecting, the literal teenage wasteland? I've had the privilege of listening to the first 2 episodes of In Strange Woods, and it's remarkable. While it isn't the first podcast musical, its unique style allows it to tackle the vast expanses of grief and wilderness with the same determination as Peregrine, but far more preparation. There is something important in the woods, something vital and dangerous that the show and Peregrine are going out to face. I have no idea what they'll find. I have no doubt I'll be listening. In Strange Woods is a compelling, tragic, funny musical audio drama, unlike anything else I've heard this year. Give it a try. It's available wherever you get your podcasts.
I love how everyone in the audience and all of us are just like, shut up and listen to Ben. We're in podcast.
Shit, dude.
Well done.
Holy shit.
Very well done. For the chat, unsub is in fact unknown subject and is an American crime procedural term for body not yet determined.
Yes.
Ah!
Yeah.
Yeah. I came across that and was like, oh, I don't know what that means.
Yeah, unsub. Body we don't know. Exactly. And everyone in the chat would like you to do AMSR now.
Yes.
All right. What is that? ASMR?
Asthma.
The thing where you make weird sounds and people listen to it very intensely.
The thing which is not mukbang.
Yeah.
The other thing.
Audio, sensory, something response.
That's the one.
So it's
Yeah.
ASMR.
No, I'm not.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Cool.
But no, I'm not going to do ASMR.
I do not have that wiring, so the appeal of it is, to me, from like an external perspective, it just looks like people talking very quietly in a microphone, and I'm like, okay.
And that's late night talk radio.
That's
me, so.
yeah.
I think you also like they have special microphones they get that really pick up all like the mouth sounds, which to me sounds disgusting. Obviously, you know your mileage may vary. I know a lot of people like it, but
they do them with like pets eating and like cooking sounds, and I'm like,
no,
cooking sounds I could kind of get, but like pets eating, I'm like, well, Foley has to come from somewhere. That's just kind of as I think of it that way.
You just heard a cat go to town on a bowl of wet food. That is not a good noise.
There's so much of it, Ben. There's so much of it on the internet. Unfortunately, that's the answer to most things.
So, Ben.
Hello.
We're both award-winning voice actors now.
Multi-award-winning.
Multi-award-winning. How the fuck did that happen?
Because it is a fan vote, and we have an incredibly engaged fan base who are ready to mobilize.
I accept that as half the answer. Can we have the
Okay.
other half of the answer, which is that you are both ridiculously talented?
Oh, right. Fair enough.
I love you.
Well, hey, we talked about it at the top of the stream. If we're going to talk about career stuff, when it comes to career stuff, I have no fun.
True.
I'm very happy to be very like, you're awesome and you will accept that fact.
How'd you get started in this?
Just what?
Just lay it out there. What decision led you to, I am going to do voice acting now?
I'm going to talk in a microphone in a small warm room.
Well, yeah, the small warm room was maybe an unexpected side effect of that. What was it? I mean, just being a massive show-off, I think really is the main thing. You know, doing a couple of University Drama Society plays. I had 2 lines in The Seagull, and from there, the rest is history.
If you're going to start anywhere, start with Chekhov, dude. Nicely done.
God, they're
I was
doing the
basically
English
playing.
nerd thing. Okay. It's all right. I'm hanging on by the edge of my fingernails here. It's fine. It's fine.
I was basically just playing a stagehand with a couple of lines, sort of a diegetic stagehand, which was actually quite fun. It means I didn't have to learn many lines, which I hate learning lines. That's the other thing. One of the reasons I did voice acting, I get a script and I get to take multiple takes.
Isn't it?
And it can be right there when you're doing it.
Isn't it great?
I'm absolute trash at learning lines. It fills me with utter dread. It's terrible.
I'm so relieved to hear you say that, because the amount of those fucking TikToks where I had perhaps 30 words to say, and we just kept having to come up with ways for them to be in my eye line because my brain just wouldn't hold it. Any time.
audio dramas for actors who don't like memorization.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a fair way of putting it, to be honest. Commuting's a heck of a lot easier too. Less makeup.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, also, like, to be honest, right place, right time, bunch of luck. I think I've spoken about this before, but basically, it's the only reason I really got into voice acting is because Amy, my brother's partner, knew Alex at university, and when Alex was kind of put out a call for like, hey, I'm gonna try some podcasts and stuff. We need some people for an actual play. She basically just went, hey Ben, you're a massive nerd. Maybe you'd like this. I auditioned,
but
and
then...
didn't get the part.
Seriously.
I failed the audition, as far as I remember. It was going to be Lottie who was doing what I was doing, but she had to pull out because of other commitments. So I was the runner-up.
Do you ever just send Alex a photo of your framed wall of awards, and just go hi?
No, I mean, hey, he didn't know me. He didn't know me. He knew Lottie. Like, she was a trusted and known quantity, and is a very talented voice actor in her own right, as people know from her playing. Sasha. Sorry, I get so confused with the convoluted plot of the Magnus Archives. It's been a long time.
No.
Stuff like that fascinates me, where like the alternate timeline is one coin toss away.
Didn't they just do a 6-episode Loki TV show about exactly that?
Exactly that. Yes.
Exactly that.
Yes, where she ended up being from Nottingham.
Okay, you've taken such a left turn there that I didn't follow you.
I did enjoy that actor. Sort of, she had the Loki voice for a lot, and then when she got angry, her just normal accent came out.
I know, it was delightful. Oh, there we go. That's the connection.
It's good.
We were still talking about that.
And actually, that's a good point. It might have been a conscious choice, but she started off with like, "Hello, I'm Tom Hiddleston, and I'm from Eton." Went to Eton, and then she broke into like having a normal person's accent.
I have never loved the. I'm going to try and enchant it more as a piece of language. That was great.
Yeah, exactly. But, okay, so fair enough. You started off on a lark with friends, like a lot of this does. But you have a full-time career, and I have a full-time career, and he has a full-time career, and yet we're still all doing this. So obviously, at some point, you make the decision that the thing that was a lark is now going to be something you're going to devote your weekends and evenings and sometimes disposable income to. What was that path for you? Was it that you had so much success with Rusty Quill, just kind of everything in general, that you're like, no, I really enjoy this, I want to do more with it? Or do you credit the fact that you work in an industry where you work with these kind of professionals? I mean, you're a game designer, you work with voice acting, at least in some touch point.
Actually, not at all. Interesting.
Really?
But, yeah, nothing at all. Because I work on like big projects. So, sorry.
It's okay.
And this is the first game that I've been on that has actually had voice acting. Which actually I can't say which game I'm working on. Which is Star Wars Hunters, because it was nice. Announced at a Nintendo Direct a couple of months ago. It's like a mobile and Switch free-to-play shooter thing.
Cool.
Yeah.
We are high-fiving you so hard through the internet right now. So hard. My God.
But the thing is that they need like proper like SAG actors and all that kind of stuff. So we don't see any of them. They're doing their own thing over there.
One of my favorite quotes from John Rogers, who's the writer behind Leverage, is that a movie set is a construction site where beautiful people occasionally wander through. And I've always loved that analogy because, if you're doing the nuts and bolts work of something, like the talent is like way over there in their own little special handling enclosure and such.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
one of the things which I found from my approach, and this is pretty much my approach to working in culture in general, is I made my peace a long time ago with the fact that I am kind of the gestalt of a lot of stuff which I really loved that I've stolen from flagrantly and then turned into my own. And I was curious whether that was something you found. Are there people that you could point at and go, that's the kind of voice acting I was aiming towards, and I've steered through that and onto my own path?
Not really, and not because of any sense of like great superiority, but just because I'm a Southern English man with a kind of bassy voice. I sound like everyone, so I just do the standard, right? Like I'm not doing anything particularly remarkable. It's just the hello, I have a Radio 4 voice.
See, that's exactly it. Because, okay, this is your story. Go.
My accent is a very weird combination of about 6 things. My parents both grew up in Leeds, in the same part of Leeds, and in fact, I'm fairly certain they had at least one play date as children, which will come up in the eventual movie. And they very quickly learned that in their professions, my dad was a teacher, my mum was a nurse, it wasn't a good idea to hold on to their accent. So they taught themselves how to sound like the BBC, which is why I sound like this. Except for the fact that I grew up on the Isle of Man, which is the unholy combination of an Irish and Liverpudlian accent. Then I lived in Yorkshire for 18 years, and I stand next to a Californian.
Dude.
And the end result is my voice is basically vocal chaff. If people don't know me, a lot of the time they'll just go, Australian? What?
Yeah. But I think there's a lot, I think that's a very common thread we hear with a lot of, especially male voice actors in the UK, is it's all, can you do received pronunciation? You know, that's so much of the expectation, and it's literally the expectation of the performance is that this is what being a voice actor sounds like. But of course, everybody has their own like roles they steer towards, or presentation styles that they like, or like just even favorite character types to play, which kind of influences what you gravitate towards and what you practice and what you develop into. Like, you like to play, my observation, let me be fair, my observation is you like to play Weasley evil little shits, and everybody really likes that fact about you. But it does have an effect, doesn't it?
Well, I get cast as Weasley little shits.
Well, okay, so yeah, that's a fair question too, though. Is that intentional? Is that like what you're going for? Because you're auditioning for, and you were in all sorts of indie video games now. So you've gone from being in stuff that you stumbled into and that developed over time, and we could have a whole hour conversation about Elias Season 1 versus Elias Season 5 just vocally. But now you're at the point where you're like actively auditioning for things. And are you finding yourself like gravitating towards those types of characters that you're familiar and comfortable with, or are you taking like a different tack to it and like trying to expand repertoire, work with specific people or specific types of projects?
Well,
that's a million questions. Pick any thread and pull.
Yeah, the thing is, it's like I am incredibly lazy. So, you know, I've got my day job, and I don't really have the energy to hustle that much about the voice acting stuff. Which is, again, it comes down to part of the luck thing of like, you know, Elias's shadow is very long. And the fact that I have a prominent part in the Magnus Archives is incredibly helpful, because it's a thing that you can say, I was in that. People are like, oh, that thing. Okay. At least, you know, people in podcasting who have heard of it. You go to anyone who's not into podcasts, they're like, what are you talking about? Go away. You weirdo.
Yeah, you say that. But
yeah,
then we have friends in LA who text us in the middle of the morning like, holy shit, Al, what are you doing in this podcast I just listened to? It happens like cool. all the time. It's kind of ridiculous.
I've only had one person from non-podcast life go, oh, you're from that thing, which has been interesting. But yeah,
was it good? Interesting?
yeah, no, it was fine. Yeah. It was just you know, somebody at work who was like, came into the company and was like, oh, I know, you know, the Magnus Archives. I think it's a demographic thing as well, because of course, you know, they were younger, and you know, podcast audience skew younger as well.
Yes.
Like
yes.
But yeah, no, like the thing is, I've done a few auditions for bits and pieces, but usually it's been people approaching me, or like I'll put out a thing, like I put out a thing on Twitter and was like, hey, I'm interested in more jobs, and people kind of came to me and said, hey, would you like to do this thing? And I was like, yes, of course I would. So it's that, I don't know, it's that weird mixture of like, I am incredibly inexperienced really as a voice actor, like and I mean in the grand scheme of things, like obviously I've been doing Rusty Quill stuff for 6 years, I've been in a bunch of stuff, but like, you know, I don't, you know, I'm not a professionally trained voice actor. I've just done it and have I think, you know, a decent knack for it, but I don't have an agent or anything. So it's that mixture of like that plus having kind of lucked into this prominent antagonist part. That then there's that mixture of people like, oh, I know you've done stuff I really like, but also I'm like, okay, yeah, great, but I don't know what I'm doing. So yeah, I'm not really like I'm taking what comes to me, I guess. Is really what I just like doing voice acting. I don't have like, I don't know. I'm at the stage now where I'm kind of wrestling with the thing of like, in order to improve my career as a voice actor, I have to start compromising on my career as a game designer. And there's decisions to be made with that I don't want to make. So I'm just ignoring it at the moment.
Hey, you want to talk about that?
Yeah. Everything you're saying is very familiar. My version of it is freelance journalism, and the massive emphasis on that is the word free, because so much of the stuff I did for nothing or on the promise of something further down the line, and it was a cheap dopamine hit. I mean, there was a site I worked for about 3 years, which paid contemptuous. It was actual contemptuous money. It was like, I think it was £10 per 500 words. It was basically,
take your filthy lucre, word monkey.
Yeah, they would basically throw the note at your face and tell you to fuck off, And I generated 20 or 30 articles for them a week, because if I did that, it was £300, and it was only 36 hours. And it took me a really long time to realize that stuff was getting in the way, that the kind of short hit of I did a thing was getting in the way of, I need to go away and do this for 6 months, and it will feel like I'm doing nothing, but at the end of it, I'll have something that's mine.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's...
it's that balance. Unfortunately, it's that whole, well, I really enjoy doing this, but I only have so many hours in the evening and the weekend to devote to it, and therefore it kind of caps itself with how far you can go with it. Because you're right. I mean, especially. I mean, and we say this as people who have been in the podcast industry for 15 plus years now, especially in the last couple of years, as more and more marketing money and more contemporary media has poured into podcasting. Of course, now these days you don't sell a podcast to Spotify unless you have A-list talent associated with it. So there's a completely different expectation about what a commercially viable podcast is. And for those of us, I mean, who want to be like, it's like being a casual gamer versus being a hardcore Destiny player. If we only have 2 hours,
that works.
It's true. No, casual gaming is totally a fair analogy, because if I only have 2 hours 2 nights a week to pick something up and play it, I'm going to pick a different type of game to devote my skill towards to somebody who is, let's be generous and say, on summer vacation and can devote 14 hours a day to it, right? They can develop a level of skill and just by sheer hours that I'm never going to touch. So it kind of steers me away from that. So I like doing bit parts that have like 4 lines and 2 episodes, and I'm done in a session and I'm gone, because that's enough for me to feel like I'm continuing to develop and practice new stuff. But it's not something like, I mean, you have significant reads for the entire first season of St. Kilda, and it was hours and hours and hours. I can't commit to that the same way.
I am surprised I was able to. I mean, it's the kind of rubber hits the road moment I'm getting at the moment is the realization that as my prose work's firing up, or as I'm trying to fire it up, I have less time to podcast, and I host a weekly horror podcast, which means I host half a weekly horror podcast now. And part of me is and it always sounds suspiciously like Binky the Clown from the old Garfield special in my head, because that's how my head is wired. Half of me is like, you're a failure! You're only doing 2 weeks a month! And the rest of me like, shut up, Binky! I get to sleep now! So the whole, not even work-life balance, but the work-work balance is a very real struggle for everyone, I think. So you have absolutely our sympathies.
It gets frustrating though, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Especially when you really like it. And you're like, I really want to do more of this, but I have to choose between, am I going to take a week of vacation from my day job to do this fun thing? or am I gonna actually have a break from my day job?
Yeah, I've definitely forgotten how to relax.
You are in excellent company,
Yeah.
my friend.
God.
Yeah.
We're not allowed to
I have an
collaborate
evening
on
that's
any more
not full of.
projects.
Yeah, an evening that isn't full of stuff. I'm like, I just sit in a dark room staring at the wall, going, "What do I do? What do I do? This isn't
Awful.
productive. I'm not creating content."
Okay, okay.
God.
We can
Oh,
now
God,
never
it's coming
get
from inside the
Ben.
room.
We can never, ever get Ben a TikTok account. That would be very,
Oh,
very
also,
dangerous.
I'm utter trash at social media as well. I cannot handle that. God.
I know it's hard because we're the type of people, and I think it's to some extent, I think it's influenced generationally. But we're the type of people who are like, but if I like that and I relax at it, then I have to turn it into money. And then all of a sudden, you find out all your hobbies are part-time jobs, and you have a full-time job and 3 part-time jobs, and no life and a nervous breakdown, and it's just not good.
I think it's why I cook. I think it's why I cook at an extremely amateur level. I'm saying, this is great. I can't sell this. It takes a set period of time, and I get to eat it.
The end.
Cool.
Yeah, totally.
Good. I mean, it's why I've got that in the background, and that's full of minis. 'Cause I'm like, I'll do some painting, or I'll do some sewing. You know, something that isn't, for anyone else. And I haven't done any of that.
Cross stitch. And then I have to like give them away because otherwise they accumulate. I have to do things with them.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. Laugh about our Lego collection a little bit more. Our space Lego collection in particular. Oh God.
We have all of it.
Yeah,
And by we, I mean me.
Yes, I know.
So now you've brought it up. I'm super curious. When you do sew, what do you sew?
I don't, because I haven't. I've threaded it, and I've experimentally sewn the leg of some ruined jeans up, and it works.
Ben,
Awesome.
And that's it. That's the total of my use of that sewing machine.
That's it. That's the tweet.
Yep.
Ben, in my head, that makes you an actual wizard. So do not undersell that achievement.
Yeah, I mean the blooming instruction manual for it, because they've done it without any words, which is great. Because sometimes it's like nice, easy stuff, like you put the thing on the spindle, and then it gets to points where it's then like, oh, that's great. Now do this, and you're like, what?
What the hell?
What? Yeah, it's I had to watch some videos to explain what these things are.
That's why I do cross stitch, and I don't do knitting or crochet, because I'm like, that you've taken one step too many. We've gone from up and down to wizardry, and there's like no step in the middle that I've missed.
Yeah, I'm hoping at some point I can use it to make some LARP costume, but what with there being no LARP, basically this year, I need a deadline. That's the other thing. I have to work to a deadline. I don't do anything unless it's a deadline. Someone needs to tell me you'll get in trouble unless you do this. I'm like, oh, okay.
Okay, so you don't want gold stars. You're not carrots. Ben, no, I can't say that. No, okay.
It's all the stick.
Gold star. Show him.
Okay, so I bought mine as a pin, right? Like I literally bought my. Oh, ouch! This is gonna hurt. Like oh. I've completely brought the stream to a halt while I try to. He literally bought me like a gold star pin, because sometimes that's what I need.
Yeah. Hey,
I need my gold star. I am Lisa Simpson. Grind me. It's so bad. It's so bad.
It amazes me that we all find ourselves in this situation where we
can't relax, man.
We've been conditioned to not relax. And I mean, to go slightly meta and potentially heavy for a moment, God knows we've all had reasons for the last 18 months to not relax. But the erosion of that over time is horrifying to me. And the thing, because I'm a fundamentally optimistic cat, that gives me a tremendous amount of hope is that, we're all aware of it, and we're all frantically hauling on the tiller now, trying to turn the boat around to the point where we can get some more sleep. But it's kind of horrifying that we've all ended up in this position.
Yeah, it is.
And and a lot of it is, my view is, it's about technology and how it changes how we consume art, and how that has been commodified completely independently, and how that produces this ridiculous rat race. It's exactly what you said. It's like, I can't relax, I have to generate content. It's like, whoa there, big fellow. You know, why are we now incapable of resting? Because we're just psychologically wired and driven to like produce stuff. And that's why we all monetize all of our hobbies.
The other day, I actually caught myself whilst I was playing a video game, relaxing, and this is really good. I should write 500 words about this and put it up on Itch.io as a zine. No, no, no.
It's just kind of frightening how that thought process is so like completely opaque to us now. It just happens, and we just do it.
Yeah. I don't know. It's I guess on a more optimistic side, at least for me personally, the voice acting thing is also the ability to like create something that connects with people. And again, it's very fortunate that, you know, one of the first projects I took on was became very successful, and like we got a lot of positive feedback for it, because like, I don't know, I see, you know, there are so many things out there for people to like enjoy and stuff, and some stuff bubbles to the top and some stuff doesn't. And you know, you see people who plug away at things that don't get a huge amount of following, but they keep doing it because they love it. And like that's a really, really, like, a lot of respect for those people, because if I didn't get like immediate gratification and feedback, I'd stop doing it, because I am just incredibly shallow, and you know,
you have an incredible amount of self-knowledge, Ben.
Well, you know, that's the other thing of like, hey, you know, somebody who's in the arts, who's a chronic overthinker, right? It's analysed and overanalyzed myself and the way that I act, you know, far too much, to be honest.
Fake
But
love, real pain.
Yes.
yeah, I know. But hey, it does give you a level of self-awareness, at least. You know,
Yeah.
I think that is a useful thing.
It is.
Even if it doesn't make you the happiest person in the world.
It is. So do you have like a dream, like if somebody plopped like all the money in the world in front of you and said you can pick any franchise, any IP, any character, what's like the sweet spot? It's like, if you could have like your dream voice job, what would it be?
I don't think it's really. It's not connected to an IP, to be honest. Like, I don't much care about IPs. Like, I'll enjoy IPs, but like I don't give a damn, right? Like, as long as it's good, it's good. If it's bad, it's bad. I don't care if it's whatever. But I'd really, really like to do an animated series. I think an animated series and like a prominent role in a video game. Like, those are the two things. I'd like to get involved with other media, to be honest. Because I really enjoy podcasting, but I really enjoy video games and animated series. So I just love to be a part of a thing that I like. That's really it. I look at things and I'm like, that's really cool. I want to do that. That's kind of my main motivation for things.
So is it more like the medium? It's like, I just want to be in this particular medium, as opposed to like, so some of the people in the chat are asking what an IP is. So an example of an IP is, I want to be in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I want to be in a Star Trek show. You know, big franchises, big known universes and things.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, anything over the top, to be honest. I love the melodramatic shit. Like, you know, if I could be in the English dub of a JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, I suppose that would be great. God. Because can you imagine that job? Can you imagine what they'd ask you to do? That'd be amazing.
What is that?
JoJo's Bizarre Adventure has a strong case for being the weirdest anime ever produced. It's the one with the telekinetic hair, isn't it? I'm thinking of the right one.
Yeah, the knight with the telekinetic hair,
The knight
right?
with the telekinetic hair. He is but one character.
Oh, and it gets more ridiculous. Like, they're pretty. Jack the Ripper hiding himself in a horse's throat and jumping out, having filled himself full of zombie Jack the Ripper having filled himself full of knives that he then flexes to fire at our heroes, is really one of the more mundane parts of that.
Okay.
series.
So overly dramatic, over the top stuff. That sounds amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's great. Aren't you the scenery? Actually, I have been watching the new Masters of the Universe thing. I just finished it this evening.
How did you get on with that? Because I loved She-Ra, but we watched the first 2 episodes of the Masters of the Universe, and I'm bouncing kind of hard off of it, just because it can't seem to settle, or it's taking a very long time to settle.
Yeah, it's I enjoyed it. It's definitely different from She-Ra,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
I think
totally.
obviously I prefer She-Ra because obviously this series doesn't have Scorpia in it.
And she is the best
But-
ever.
Oh, she's so good.
Love her
She's so
much.
good. I love her. Just want to give her a big hug. She's wonderful. But yeah, no, I enjoyed it. I know what you mean with the whole like, is it for adults? Is it for kids? It's like got a 12 rating, and at one point Evelyn says bollocks, which is really funny. It's great. Like it's a good section, but I'm like, okay, I know what you have done here, writer. You put a swear in. You put a swear into He-Man, didn't you? I mean, a swear.
Sneaky
Bollocks is not a
swears.
swear, but...
Because none of the Americans get it, which is fantastic.
Well, also because it's Lena Headey saying it, so
So
Exactly.
it's
just
the good accent for it.
It just becomes like a cut glass piece of profanity. It's great.
Yeah.
But
But there's some good stuff. Like it gets quite sad. It's quite somber. It's quite melancholy. It's like it's got something to recommend it. Like, and also it's only 5 episodes long, so it's
And it
fine.
had Henry Rollins, and I will do anything for Henry Rollins.
my spiritual older brother returning as, you know, the demented tech priest, that made me
That
very
was
happy.
really funny. I loved that.
Oh, Henry.
Exactly. What about you?
What about me?
Dream voice job.
Dream voice job. That's a really good question.
Because I have an answer, so I'm going to ask everybody else.
I think I have 2, and one of them is really surprising for me. One of them is an entirely tedious and predictable IP, which is there's a thing that was floating around on Twitter a little while ago, which is kind of, what Doctor Who villain would you like to play? I think I'd be fucking great as the Valyard. I think just cheery Valyard is absolutely where I should go. And strangely, the other one, an awful lot of the stuff I've done has either been the kind, well, pretty much all the big stuff I've done has been the kind of thing I've always done on Pseudopod, which is that I'm the hyper-articulate guy over to the left going, oh dear, I really don't think that was a good plan, now was it? and I think I'd like something a little bit more on stage next time. Very much in the spirit of, you know, the Good Place line about, hi, shut up, I'm confident now. You know, I maybe like something where I'm not commenting on the action, but I am in it.
Goals.
Or Watson. Watson's fucking cool. I'd like to play Watson.
I hadn't thought of you as the kind of, because I always depends on the presentation of Watson, I guess. But I
course.
always think of him as the kind of,
Gosh, Holmes, how terribly clever.
yeah, exactly. He's exposition sidekick man a lot of the time.
Holmes, why are my laces tied together? No reason, Watson.
Yeah,
No reason
well,
at all.
it's the do you want to be like the cool action Jude Law Watson, or the sort of the kind of the foolish oaf Watson? It's like, Holmes, what is a shoe? I found a thing. Hello.
It's like, especially in audio drama, it's the I am here to explain the plot to the
Yes.
audience without breaking the fourth wall. Yeah,
Good Lord, Holmes, there appears to be a man with a knife in his back. What does this mean? That kind of thing.
exactly. Ben Holmes and Alasdair Watson is now being pitched by the chat, so I'm just going to throw that out there. I love that idea. That sounds
I mean,
great.
anything that gets me compared to Clive Merrison, I'll take.
Oh, King of Holmeses is.
Yeah. And as my brother is very pleased with, once grabbed him by the scruff of the neck and shouted at him.
Really?
Yes.
Yay.
In a film in a scene that was cut, but yeah, because the History Boys was filmed in our school, so Tim was an extra in it, and I think Clive Merrison is the head teacher. So there's one point where he's like grabbed by him and told to straighten his tie, and Tim was absolutely terrified because it was improvised. So he was like, "Ah, why is Sherlock Holmes shouting at me?"
Now I'm seeing Sherlock Holmes shouting at Trexel, and that's an image that amuses me. So I think I'm just gonna park that to the side for a while.
This was when Tim was 12, not like a massive beardo.
What is the History Boys?
The History Boys, alarmingly, well,
Please translate for me. I am American.
The History Boys is a very good play by Alan Bennett about the graduating class in a secondary school of who are all studying history, and it's about these very unique ways these boys approach life, and their teacher, who is not especially closeted in. Not especially closeted homosexual man, but in the uniquely British and occasionally awful way. No one really talks about it, and he just kind of occasionally touches people mildly inappropriately. I was waiting for those eyebrows.
Played by Richard Griffiths as well.
Played by Richard Griffiths. My dad was taught by him, not Richard Griffiths, the guy that History Boys is actually about.
Oh.
Yeah.
Weird. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah. What a
It's
connection.
it's a very good play. It's a good film too.
Okay. Put that on the list.
I will.
Yeah. But their main classroom was my English classroom.
Seriously. That
They do all their sitting and talking.
I am now slightly blown away by that. Okay, so
Yeah. Well, it's because we went to a big red brick kind of. I say red brick because that's got a specific university meaning, but like a big old building because we went to Watford Grammar School for Boys, which wasn't a grammar school but wanted to be, or used to be, and then couldn't be legally, and then really wanted to be. We didn't pay for it. It was still state schooling, so that's one thing that. Thank God I'm not from a private school. Christ.
At some point,
That's.
No, go ahead.
I was just said that's one of that's a real bit of prejudice that I have had. If anyone says they're from a private school, I'm like, oh, were you? Okay. It's not their fault. Their parents sent them to it, but I'm still like, you went to a private school, did you? Mm-hmm.
If it's any consolation, there was a single private school on the Isle of Man called King William's College, and I am not exaggerating. It was placed on a spit of land at the far end of the island, where the nearest thing was the airport. Russian oligarchs would drop their children off at this thing to make them notionally civilized.
And then they'd release them on the other school to play rugby. Oh God!
Seriously, this thing was 2 miles away. They got a coach up to us. The intrepid, lumpy children of Proletariat High had to fucking walk down there to get our asses kicked by these kids, all of whom were 6'3" and blonde, 3 times a year at rugby. And I had 2 moments in my rugby career where I realized it was perhaps time to not be in the sport anymore. One was
Proletariat High does sound like the anime that we want to cast now. I'm just saying. That sounds great.
Like the lumpen students of Proletariat High. Trekking through the mud.
You could just see it. Like Ghibli style rain.
Yeah.
I remember one time we played them and they were just running rings around us. The score was something like 76-0. And there was like 3 minutes left, and a friend of mine took a kick, which we just knew was going to be landed on one of these fucking Terminators who just plow through us. and he looked around at all of us and went, "Don't worry, lads, we're still in with a chance." And there's like 3 minutes left on the clock. And the closest we got to a victory was they all looked really confused as they stomped us into the mud because we were still laughing so fucking hard. It was great. I don't miss it at all.
Okay, so Proletariat High is a clown school now. That has to play rugby. Oh God.
You get like a Shaolin soccer style underdog story out of that though with rugby.
Yeah,
Absolutely,
seriously, right?
Absolutely. Like, last minute saves, or just So what happened? Oh, they beat us. Really? Yeah, a lot. A lot.
But we had a great time.
We made some important friends.
We
along the
learned
way.
valuable life lessons and
Also,
bruises.
now my arm's gone this way. Please.
See, we were all right at rugby because my school was like not a private school, but was like one of the best state schools in the country. So I'm not pretending that I didn't get a really good ride on this. But the thing is because we kind of had the school had pretensions of being a posh school. We did all the did rugby and stuff, and then we were shopped around to the other like private schools around the area, which we fucking hated because they were private schools, but held our own enough.
That's a very
Because we had to. Oh, who did we play? What's the really famous school that like a bunch of comedians and stuff like David Baddiel went there, and it's like a famous North London.
I know the one, but I don't know the name. And
Because we played Harrow, but not Harrow. Harrow's not the one I was thinking of.
did you play Eton?
Rutledge?
Is it Latimer?
God, I think it's Latimer. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's Latimer. I think we played Latimer, although we're in the same sort of situation. Anyway, what a weird little digression about a thing that hasn't been relevant for 13 years.
Yeah, that's fine.
You're still stuck.
I'm stuck on Proletariat High in the Rain, you know? I'm very terribly amused by this very idea.
So what are you working on at the moment?
So I very much went to like bourgeoisie college. Not quite the aristocrat academy, but
Right? I know. You have to you get to go to the Aristocrat Academy for like master's courses, right? That's where you go for your higher education.
I know I went to Sussex, where all the screaming lefties go, and to be honest, a bunch of rich kids who couldn't get into Oxbridge.
Yeah, I went to Berkeley. Big on lefties.
Okay, so I know next to nothing about American college system, apart from
Berkeley,
like Yale and Harvard are the big one, the Oxbridge of
Yeah.
America, but that's it.
Yeah, Berkeley is what started the nuclear protest movement. They're the big hippie school. They are a state school, which means they are a public university, but they are the highest ranked public university, and they like to compete with Stanford, who sucks, and is private.
There's a subtle note
Sorry.
of bias in there.
Go
that I can't
Bears!
quite pull out.
Screw off.
I can almost detect it.
Yes.
I went to York St John University, which briefly had a gardening campus, and then didn't. That tells you everything you need to know about it.
Ah, well, universities are just businesses now, aren't they?
I know, right?
It's like Sussex got rid of their like world-leading linguistics course because it wasn't profitable anymore. We had to build a business school.
This is an epic level digression, but it does.
It's the evening for it.
My first year at university, I was in halls, which means you stay on site, and you got meals catered. You got a set amount of meals, but you got them catered. And Thursday night was always the best night because Thursday night was turkey dinosaur night. So you had these 700.
Don't small children eat these?
Don't cheapen this. You had these like 700 distressed, horny adolescents with no idea of what the fuck they were doing, sitting in this dining hall, trying to work out why they were eating breaded lumps of turkey.
Compost? They're dino nuggies. They're talking about
in the
dino
faint shape of
nuggies.
dinosaurs. And of course there's me and like 3 other people going, holy fucking shit, it's a dinosaur. And just having the best time.
University.
Yeah.
Freshman year?
Also,
at least?
they are Bernard Matthews turkey dinosaurs. They're not
exactly.
dino nuggies. It's a specific brand name.
They're beautiful. It says it right there on the bag. Anyway, because I was
This
a
is
student
going
and I realised
entirely
quite
over my
early
head.
on that I
I'm
had
amused.
no money, I idiotically applied for a job in the kitchens, which, because I was a student, they viewed as, oh good, fresh meat. So I ran the dishwasher, and the dishwasher was designed to fail because it all came in too quickly, so it would just be traffic jammed up, and they'd stack glass on the floor near me and go, you're right. And I'm like, I'm fine, because I'm too stupid to realise it. But I did this over the summer holidays when their conferences come in, and someone actually sat me down once and said, so you know how, they literally said, so you know how we feed you shit during term? Like, I like the turkey dinosaurs, Alasdair. Okay, yeah, you feed us shit. And you know how the food for conferences is really posh? Yeah. Would you like me to tell you how much we spend on food for you, for each one of those students, day by day? It's like, okay, 75p.
Oh god, that's depressing.
Would you like me to tell you how much we spend on conference delegates? And there was a long pause, and I probably asked about the turkey dinosaurs again, and they probably looked at me. And I said, yeah, okay. And they said, we spend £12 a meal. And yeah, universities are businesses now.
Yeah, and they'll be spending like £350 a ticket or something, won't they?
Yes.
I know, it's just ridiculous.
I did get to help cater a scene of crime officer conference once. They had after dinner theatre. They actually had
What?
They had a murder at a scene of crime officer conference. Work out who the murderer is, and I feel so sorry for those poor actors.
Wow.
They had a they they had a murder mystery evening for people whose jobs it was to work out who murderers are.
Yes.
See,
Brilliant.
it's cyclical. Look, we're not the only workaholics. There are other people out there who are spending their entertainment doing their jobs.
It would
God.
be like the big finish of a bus driver conference being, here you go, sit in a bus.
But also, can you imagine, like, being one of those actors trying to do your thing when you're full of there's just a room full of people taking it so seriously because it's their job. No one's just like hyper focused, really like.
No, Margaret, you
Horrible
can't
question.
roll out the tape. We've already rolled out the tape. It's my turn, right? I mean,
God.
I'd
Yeah,
watch that
maybe
show.
a bunch of people like calling up the actors for procedural mistakes they're making in the crime scene.
stop twitching. You're ruining my submersion, right?
I
Yeah.
can see you breathing. That's because I'm alive. Shut up.
Yeah, it's like, you don't look like a corpse. How would you? Oh, yeah, no, you would. Oh,
Yeah,
yeah. I guess.
I'm really sorry.
Yeah. Don't demonstrate. We're good.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're good. We're good. What else do you have questions-wise?
Let me see. I wrote down some questions, Ben.
Your Toad's profession.
Oh, yeah, go for it.
Toad's profesh.
Basically, it's a chance to hang out with friends. It's a good
Yeah,
excuse.
that's just lovely. It's nice
It's good.
stuff.
Would I be right in thinking, I think I am, you design tabletop RPG stuff as well?
I have done, yes.
Cool. How's that going?
Sorry.
Was that it?
Basically...
I know yes wasn't the best answer to that. Like, there's not really much of a follow-up to, yes, I have. Yes, thank you.
Basically, that was going to segue into what are you working on at the moment?
Oh, right.
Just talk about St. Kilda already.
Yeah.
Let's talk about St. Kilda.
Okay. Do you want to talk about St. Kilda as well?
Yeah, right. Yeah, because
Okay.
to be honest, the answer to the RPG stuff is nothing. Come to game design as my day job. I don't want to I need to get back into it.
It's not just me. I hate watching legal TV shows. It's like, that's my day job. I can point out all the mistakes. You don't walk into court 6 hours later with 2 boxes on a trolley and a 3,000-pound suit. That's not how that works. And I don't like watching it as
I can
entertainment.
give you the exact time code in the exact episode of Hannibal where the phrase, oh, fuck off, echoed through the house and we never went back to it.
It's the reason why.
Well, I do feel like, from what I've heard, Hannibal is not a show that's committed to realism.
And it's the reason I still like the original Daredevil, not the movie, but the new Marvel one.
I love the movie enough for both of us.
Yes, that's okay. Because you love Ben Affleck, and that's fine. You can do that over there. It's fine. But I love the original Daredevil because they got all the federal criminal procedure code sections right, because I paused and checked. And therefore I was like, okay. No, seriously. I'm watching the episode and they rattle something off. I'm like, click. Phone, flick. You may proceed.
Someone did their research.
Well, yeah, because you're in my wheelhouse. So if I'm going to consume entertainment in my wheelhouse, it has to be authentic, which is why I'm very, very, very on the fence about She-Hulk. I'm like, you are my spiritual avatar. I am desperate for this show. Please don't fuck it up or I'm gonna be really unhappy.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Entirely crossed.
You were asking a question, and I got off on a tangent about.
I was hoping you were going to suddenly bring up those talking points from St. Kilda so we could kind of talk about them.
Oh, I see.
I should maybe have said that out loud.
Is that a Marguerite? Please, can you bring up the talking points about St. Kilda? No, we'll just. How did you get involved? How did Ben get involved? And I think the answer's going to be
much the same.
Hey, you're cool. Can we talk?
I think it ultimately boiled down to pizza, because back in the before times, when we were able to attend live conventions, we ended up going to Pod UK, and we discovered the joys of Kareem's "I will buy pizza for everybody, so you may mingle and discuss matters and things" post-show thing, and we got to sit across from this bunch of remarkably avuncular Scottish chaps, some of whom were magicians. And
so the secret handshake of magicians occurred.
There were 4 stage magicians in that room at one point. It's like her and lawyers. We just find each other, Someone goes, "Hey, you see that David Copperfield thing?" Fuck yeah. How many copies of The Prestige have you got? All of them. And then you just hang out. The Prestige is...
I know. It's just that's a very bizarre way to characterize that conversation.
Yeah, but, it works. I was styling it out.
It is. Style it out. Go for it.
I was styling it out. And we got talking to the Haggis and Dragons chaps, and then a couple of months later they kind of sidled up to me online and went, "So you know how you say things occasionally into a microphone?" I was like, "Yes. Would you like to say things into a microphone for us?" And I said yes, and now here we are.
The reason I'm there is I think Alasdair recommended me.
I absolutely did, because
Yeah.
you are one of the best voice actors I've ever encountered.
I miss
Oh, well, that's very kind of you. Thank you.
It's also very true.
Well, I'm not one to judge. I'm me.
I know, dude, but that's why creatives have to stick together, because when you're trapped inside your head going, "I'm not sure whether I'm good at this," my job is
Yeah. Hey, look. I'll say I know people like me. Which is good, but I'm not a good judge of my own skill. That's what directors are for.
Oh, that's
genuinely, oh man, I need direction. That's one
Seriously?
thing. I am. Oh yeah, I'm okay. I'm fine. I am a fine voice actor, and I can be good with good directors. I'm very good at taking notes, and that's my skill as a voice actor. As a general, just read the thing. I'll do a fine job. I'll say the words in the right order. I'll put some emotion in it. Great. But yeah, if I've got a good director, that's I think when
it's
the
like
proper
tuning
stuff
a
happens.
radio, isn't it? You can kind of get the basic signal, and a good director's gonna kind of focus it in and make it sound even better.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, that and you guys never got to actually work together on Magnus at the same time.
I was just...
That's true. We passed like ships in the night. We were in one recording with each other.
Yes,
I think there was one where we were in the same room.
Yep.
I can't remember which it was. It might be. Was it the end of season 4?
I think it may have been. Yeah, because I think we were in the same room, but the characters actually weren't, or something ridiculous.
Well, no, I think we were, but we didn't really talk to each other. We kind of talked through Martin. We just didn't actually. I don't think we ever addressed one another. No, yes. I think I said Peter warningly once.
Yes, you did, Peter.
And then you were like, "Well, I lost a bet," and disappeared.
And that's just what it sounded like on the night, folks. It was uncanny.
I love that, being so petty that you just throw yourself into a dimension of endless fog.
The scene that launched a million fanfics. Yoink! Right? Just the hook appears from off stage. It just pulls.
just maximum usage right there.
But you got to do table reads together.
But yeah, we were talking about Kilda, weren't we?
Yeah. You'll get around to it. It's fine.
Yeah, the table reads for Kilda were really cool.
Yeah, they were. They were good stuff.
Because...
And nobody can see them yet. Neither.
But I believe they have been recorded for the Kickstarter, and they're coming soon.
Ah, good stuff. That's a solid bit of marketing sort of tactic on that one.
Should we talk a little bit about the marketing for St. Kilda?
Yes.
Yeah. So they're going to kickstart in September, I believe the plan is. Early September?
September 3rd, and there's a pre-launch in August.
Yeah. So they'll be doing a whole bunch of hypey stuff that I know that you've already been roped in for. You're giving me that look like, I have? Yes, you have. Don't worry, I know where you live and I have the microphone. You'll be fine.
It's fine.
This is how TikTok happened. So just go with it.
The entire process with TikTok was, we shouldn't have a TikTok. Maybe we should have a TikTok. Say things into this camera. That was literally it, and it unfolded across a week.
It was his fault. It was entirely your fault.
I repudiate that vociferously.
No. Nice try.
Yeah, it's true. Ergo, concordantly, objection. Anyway, Kilda, it's really good fun, and I really enjoyed the Toad's read. Toad's Profesh.
I'm just sitting on my own, being super professional right now. So you know.
Oh, I see.
But it was really nice to see, because you could kind of see over time everyone going from that thing everyone always has the first time you play a character of, oh god, to, oh, they're all really good, and so am I, and I've got this, and just the way that it gradually spun up across the course of those 10 episodes was really, really cool.
Yeah, no, it really was.
Like
it's going to be really good to see it all stuck together properly.
Oh god, yeah, it is insanely tidily put together as well. Just from a writing point of view, I got to the end of those 10 episodes and was just like, I believe it was, again, John Rogers who explained in detail how there's, fuck off is a phrase which has remarkable nuance. You can use it as an insult. And a lot of the time, writers, if something is particularly well executed, will get to the end of it, watch the landing get stuck, and just go, "Oh, fuck off!" in that kind of, how is it that good?
How did you do that so good and make it look so effortless? Yes,
and
exactly.
Naomi has dropped 2 or 3 "oh, fuck off" moments into the back 3 episodes of that show, especially, which is just amazing. Really looking forward to hearing what they sound like.
Yeah, very much so. It's that weird thing as well about like audio drama, is that the soundscaping edit and everything brings so much to the thing. Like a table read is cool, but it's so not what the finished product is.
Yeah.
So seeing how that's all handled is going to be really exciting.
How do you both kind of handle that approach? Because you know what you're bringing to the character, and you know kind of the arc that the character's going to go through, but that exactly what you're talking about, Ben, like that extra kind of communication with the soundscaping, that's not there. How is it that you approach a voice for a character when you literally don't know like what the rooms are going to be talking in sounds like, or like, do you have a specific approach, especially when you know it's a character that you're going to have, well, I say this is from my perspective, like more than one episode. I play bit players, and that's fine. But when you get to have a full character, what goes into like your planning process for you? Like, okay, am I going to start here and move towards here, or is it very seat in my pants? I'm just going to kind of grab onto the things that I think work or that I get positive feedback on as you go along. Ooh, come on, focus. Come on there.
Combination of both, I think. Like there's very much a like kind of try and have a general idea of what I'm going for, and like with the situation as well, like try and kind of generally like focus on the emotions, but then act out what is happening with my body as well. So like making sure that if like imagining those characters in situ and what their body is going to be doing, because I think like there's a lot in where your shoulders are, whether you're fidgeting, if you're super tense, like I'm a serial gesticulator. I will hit the microphone a lot as well, but that's because it's really important for the way that I do acting, right? Like I can't sit with my hands in my lap unless that's what the scene I think calls for. But then it's also just very much a discovered thing, and this is why, like I'm saying, like I'm fine, but if I have a director who can then say, okay, well that was good, but can you do it a bit more like this? And I'll be like, oh great, yeah, absolutely. And I'm always so keen to get notes and get feedback, because I know that I'm not going to be perfect. Like no one's perfect, and I really want somebody external to say, hey, this is how I think you should edit that, and then me go, oh right, okay, well I'll give it a go then, and basically solve the problem. If they give me a problem and I can solve that problem, that's a situation I react really well to.
So table reads are really important for that then, because it's an opportunity to be as in situ as you're gonna be, because you've got all the other characters there and you're like bouncing off of them and you're responding.
Yeah, absolutely. It's almost like a first draft, isn't it? It's that kind of get the broad strokes down and then focus in from there.
Yeah, you get a feeling for the room, you get a feeling for like the other characters, and also like it's been really helpful because because of the way this is a thing about remote recording and having like a global cast and all this kind of thing. We haven't been able to have big everyone's there recording, so the fact that we've had a table read with majority of people there to get a feel for it has really helped the sort of more split up, what people can do, what can fit into people's schedules style recordings.
Yeah.
Because you can kind of recall what was happening in the room.
Yeah, it used to be, you would try to get everybody physically present, but that has limitations, doesn't it? I mean, unless you have budgets for international airfare, it really caps you with, okay, who's in town, who can drive, it's much harder to do that sort of thing.
Yeah.
It's an interesting one because much like you, I find that about 50% of it is discoverability, and some of it comes from the fact that my theatrical training is stage magic, which means I'm very good at this. I'm going to talk very specifically and very directly at you, and I'm going to talk at you in a way which simultaneously feels quite naturalistic and at the same time is like no one talks on Earth. By the way, here's a rabbit. And because I was an immense comedy nerd as a kid, and I studied stand-up comedians and secretly always wanted to do it but never quite had the guts, means that I can put a front out really, really effectively. And it's taken an extremely long time for me to be able to trust my emotions enough to put something behind that front. And it's been really interesting with Kilda to find the nuance in the narrator, and there is much more nuance there than I thought. It would be really easy to do the whole thing as Red Reddington. It would be really easy to do it as, well, I'm going to talk at some length, and then your spleen will be in my teeth. And I can't do that for 10 episodes, because it would get dull. And the fact that there's an internal agenda to all the characters and an internal emotional life to all the characters has actually been really educational. It's kind of forced me to confront the fact that I actually have a little bit of range more than I thought. Because my whole life I've just thought I'm a guy who sounds like Radio 4. And I'm a guy that sounds like Radio 4, but also can sound like Radio 4 with a capital R sometimes. And occasionally Radio 4's Northern correspondent. And that's range. And I could work with that,
It's like, certain actors who, it doesn't matter what movie they're in, they're playing that actor. That actor has that role. And
oh God, you reminded me of the Michael Fassbender trilogy of horror.
I'm sorry.
Okay, real quick. I entirely by accident, I managed to see the 3 worst movies Michael Fassbender will ever do within about 3 months of one another. Alien Covenant, which is terrible. The Snowman, which is not only so terrible, the director admitted they shot 87% of the script and just went, and released it. And Assassin's Creed.
Oh God, that movie was so awful.
I fucking love the Assassin's Creed games. Historical parkour stabbing enthusiasts, fuck yeah, sign me up for that shit. But there is a moment at the top of that movie where almost to camera they go, so, Declan Assassin, yes. He was born in Long Beach, California. No. He grew up there. He was born in, looks to camera, Dublin. Because it's Fassbender and he has one accent.
Oh, it was so bad.
And they even parachute Brendan Gleeson in to literally stand in front of a window for 2 scenes as his dad to basically go, he sounds like that because of me. Where's my check?
I mean, more power to Brendan Gleeson. That's a good way to get a check.
Absolutely.
I haven't dared watch that film.
Don't.
I also
Save
very
yourself 2
much like the
hours.
Assassin's Creed games, despite the fact that the story is complete and utter bobbins.
That's what makes it so great.
Oh, just utter garbage. Rach is playing Assassin's Creed Valhalla at the moment. I'm just popping in every so often, and like it's just nonsense. It's more nonsense than I hated Desmond. Desmond was the least interesting protagonist in the world. And which one was it? Was it Nolan North or Trey?
It was Nolan.
Was it Trey Parker? What's the other one? They both sound the same.
Nolan North.
Nolan North. Yeah. Just oh my god, just the most bloody milquetoast average performance of I'm protagonist. I'm confused. What? Oh, I've got to kill someone. Okay, bye. Sunspot, solar flares. Okay, I'm dead now. And that's basically Desmond's story.
That's all 3 games of the first.
Yeah,
series.
yeah. But at least you could understand it, right? Like, at least it had a thing, I guess. They want to stop a solar flare, and everyone can get in a bunker. And all of technology's knocked out, and now Abstergo is Ubisoft, and I don't know.
It is the only franchise I've ever encountered where at some point in the writer's room someone went, yeah, but what about a 7th prehistoric artificial intelligence?
I just want you to get to go to the Isle of Man and Valhalla and bum around. Like, I want you to find the hut that says "Done pillaging," and it's like the Viking retirement home. That's all I want. And you grew up in York, so I want you to wander around York in the game and be like, "Yep."
My fervent hope is that the poor man who has been straining on the Viking toilet in the Jorvik Centre for decades now is represented in some form in Valhalla.
There's a Viking museum.
I do want to go to the Jorvik Centre now because of that.
It smells bad.
Yeah, I know. Actually, I'd heard on a different podcast that they have got like an artificial, hey, this is how Viking times smelled, and it's just shit because
it is.
And there's this one guy they have set up straining over a toilet that you go past like twice. It's so ridiculous.
And of course,
a really constipated London dungeon.
Okay, I do this for all of you. He is holding onto the top of a straw toilet with both hands, bracing, and his facial expression could best be described as... It's great. You should totally go.
Oh God, it's.
I need to go to the Jorvik Centre and experience this.
This is an experience. We should have a Ben Rent podcast. I would totally be on an episode of a Rent podcast. That would be fun. We can rant about She-Hulk if it's bad. It better not be bad.
It won't be bad. I believe.
I believe too. We've been talking for like over an hour, and we should probably have one more question or take a couple of audience questions about voice acting stuff because we haven't spent a lot of time talking about voice acting.
Oh yeah.
The thing with the stuff.
Yeah. Okay, so here we have one. I'd love to hear them talk about how it feels to get into a character voice and how you approach it. So Ben, you talked a little bit about physicality. Do you want to talk about research?
Yeah. Peter has a very specific set of his shoulders. And it is so specific I didn't notice I was doing it until I did it on the stream a couple of times and people were like, oh, Peter mode. And apparently everything goes a little bit further back and it's like a physical representation of pomposity. It's like, well, I'm very good and I'm very, very... Exactly. Yes, jolly good. As you were.
So you set your shoulders like a shit, and you go on with it.
Basically, yes.
Okay.
Most of the narration stuff I do, and this isn't This isn't kind of Kill the specific. Again, it's the ridiculous late 1990s stand-up comedy fanboy. The very strong mental image I have is me in an immaculate suit, which is several sizes too big. Because what other type of suit would be that good? With my hands in my pockets, just going, I'm going to tell you about things now.
For me, it's I think it's just a case of memory. Like that's one of the things as well. Is playing these parts with these recording schedules, you just kind of don't have regular recording schedules, so you just kind of forget how to play a character. So I think like I've on RQGG, I've revealed that my phrase for Elias is John, to kind of get that fry in the back of my throat and remind me how that's done. But really, it is just a case of like just remembering. It's really that.
Invocation phrases is an interesting one because I've used that trick a lot in like RPGs, like when you're just gaming. It's like whenever a character has a specific phrase, it's like, okay, now I remember what that voice is. It's a good hack. I
always loved how Peter Jurassic on Babylon 5 said anytime he needed to get back into character, he would just look in the mirror and go, Mr. Garibaldi! Oh, he's back. Great. And that would just be like a switch being flicked.
I love that. There's another really good question here about tips on accepting getting rejected when you auditions for stuff. And specifically how to deal with knowing it's not personal, but it really feels like it.
I got something for this up front if you want to take a minute. This is one of those things which I always feel a little cautious about saying, because underneath the jovial exterior at times lies the beating heart of a misanthrope who looks at communities and goes, why? But in many cases, it's absolutely true. The podcast audio drama community, as I've encountered it at multiple levels, and I say this as a cis-het, college-educated white dude with a moderately well-known job behind me. So the difficulty button is broken off at the lowest level for me. Are lovely people. I auditioned for a pretty well-known show a couple of months back, which is just coming up on its 4th season, and it was 2 minor roles, and I did like 2 or 3 different versions of them, and they wrote back with, we actually really loved these, but none of them were right, and we're really sorry, because we actually really liked what you did, but we can't use them. And something like that where was actually surprisingly easy to take, because I have a very specific way I do stuff, and that's going to fit or it won't. And if it doesn't fit, I'd much rather be told this isn't going to work for us than, unfortunately, oh well, we'll just hammer this into shape and it'll be fine.
Yeah.
So I mean, if you are going to get rejected as a voice actor, but in the podcast community, those rejections are going to be remarkably thornless, so at least some of the time.
Yeah, especially so I used to edit short fiction, and as an editor, you constantly are having to send declines or rejects to people, and kind of the piece of advice I always give people for any creative endeavor where you are putting yourself forward and you have no control over what's going to be selected is you have no control over what's going to be selected. The thing that's best is if you can concentrate on trying to audition for things where you think you have the strongest chance, because if you just throw yourself at everything and anything, one, you might get hardened to rejection. If that's the approach you need, then you'll do that faster if you throw yourself at stuff that's just wildly inappropriate. But being very tailored in, this is the kind of voice I have, this is the kind of work I want to do, and that is done by these 2 people, and just doing that over and over is probably going to be more effective, because people get thousands and thousands of auditions. And they have to whittle it down, and it's absolutely not personal, but they only get to pick one person for a role, and they are in the privileged position of being able to pick the best person for whatever their definition of best is. And their definition of best may not have even existed before they heard the audition that succeeded.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I guess the other thing as well, it's not personal. Getting a rejection doesn't mean you were bad.
No, it just means you weren't the rightest.
Yeah.
I can give you an example from a writing perspective, actually, from about 4 or 5 years ago. In fact, longer, I pitched a story to Big Finish, the Doctor Who audio drama folks. And at that time, I was running the comic shop, and 2 or 3 of our regular customers were regular writers for them, and I didn't get it. And one of them had actually helped me out with the pitch, and he said, I pretty much guarantee you were in the top 5% of the submissions which they sent in. It was a good story, it was laid out right, there were things they could do with it, but they will take the top 2%.
Yeah.
And you can be as good as you possibly can be, and you cannot work for the situation you're aiming for, and that's not on you, that's on the situation.
So there's this board game I really like. I can't even remember the name of it anymore, but one of the things I really like about it is that it has 2 types of success. It has success is when you achieve the mission objective, and then it has this concept of overwhelming success, where you've done something additional that was either hidden, or you've succeeded in such a way that didn't cause additional damage or fixed a future problem. Auditioning is success. It's like submitting yourself for awards.
Absolutely.
If you've tried at something, that is the part you control. You have succeeded. Everything beyond then is an overwhelming success, and it's outside your control. And it does feel personal, but it, for me at least, focusing on the fact that I did my best, and I know I did my best, and I sent the damn thing in. That's 90% of it sometimes, is better and in my control, and I can be proud of that. And then whether or not I succeed above that has nothing to do with me. You can apply that to anything, like awards is a big one. It's like, yep, I'm a finalist for that. No control over whether or not I'm going to win. I'm just going to let it go.
Yeah. Well, it's the whole thing of thinking about awards and stuff. We're competing for the British Fantasy Awards because we're in the same category and there's only one winner. So
competing. It's Magnus, Stella, Podcastle's Pseudopod, Breaking the Glass Slipper, which is a lovely, wonderful podcast who's won previously, and a Neil Gaiman audio book.
Yeah, okay, that one's gonna win, but you know. It's nice to be considered alongside that.
I know. I was really, really, really happy because that's a very new award, and it's still very much finding its feet because audio is a very wide scope, of course.
I was going to say the fact that, and like this is just from but Stella Firma and Magnus being included in the same category, I'm like, what? That doesn't make any sense.
Right?
What? They're not in the same category. What are you talking about?
I know, but they're in the same medium, unfortunately.
Yes.
This way.
Yep.
The only thing I will say in our collective potential defense is it is a juried award. It is not a popular vote. So hope springs eternal.
Also,
right?
Now would be a very good time to point out that we are trying to get all the podcasters who are going seated on the same table at the banquet. So if you do decide to go, please let us know. And I may be putting some money aside for a small crocheted Neil Gaiman. So when he inevitably wins and someone goes, Neil couldn't be with us tonight, the entire table will be able to go, on the contrary!
Young up and start, no
Little known cult author Neil Gaiman.
Little known cult favorite Neil Gaiman. Right?
He's done some stuff.
I didn't realize they had a physical ceremony, actually.
Yeah, so the British Fantasy Awards are awarded at FantasyCon, which is a convention we've run the volunteers at for the last several years. And it'll be in Birmingham at the end of September. And I owe you an email about this. But they do the ceremonies at an optional awards banquet on the Sunday night, which can be quite nice. So anybody who's going to be going... we're going to try and group us all on the same table so we can all commiserate, basically.
Which definitely doesn't involve us all getting mildly drunk and belligerent. Not at all.
Not even
Heaven
slightly.
forfend. I mean, why would it?
Well, I'll be double vaxxed by that point, so, Anyway, we'll
nice.
Fantastic.
Arrange cons later.
Splendid.
That sounds lovely.
Yeah.
Right.
You want to do one more? Or
let me take a look at the rest of the questions.
I'm happy. I'm having fun, so,
awesome.
It's all good. It's nice to have a chat.
Quick refill your beers. Tips on rejection, we talked about that. Getting into character voice. What's the difference between voice acting and voice overs? Because this is a common question, isn't it?
I mean, I don't. It's all voice acting, really. It's just you've got a part to play, and your part is disembodied insurance narrator or whatever. Like Hugh Dennis has kind of cornered the market on that one. But yeah, I mean,
there used to be more of a distinction, I think. Because voice acting now has so many more outlets. I mean, it used to be just radio plays would be the big outlet for it. And voiceover was considered kind of like the less desirable commercial subset of voice acting, right? It's the radio ads and it's commercials and it's more what I would describe as nonfiction or commercial content. Whereas voice acting is specifically you're performing a play or a movie without being shown. It's purely conveyed in voice. And then of course there's our whole world, which is prose narration, which is kind of neither and kind of both, depending on the context. Because some voice actors will also do prose narration like audiobooks, and they're very skilled, and they will put a lot of craft into the delivery of that. But then others or other people desire content or presentation, which is much more that Radio 4 approach, where they just want kind of the uniform high quality voice, but they don't want individual acting or differentiation between the roles. So there's a lot broader scope, I think, these days in like the kind of stuff that you can do with voice acting skills. Like we have a good friend in New Zealand who works for commercial radio. So he's doing all those really overpronunciated commercial ads on the air all the time. But that's its own particular skill, because being able to communicate clearly at an appropriate pace with the right emotion for toothpaste is, I think, a heck of a skill, as opposed to, you know, having a character that you are and that you can bring depth to. One of the things that I really liked about, I got to sit in on one of the St. Kilda table reads, and one of the things that really impressed me specifically about Alan is, I don't know how else to describe this, is that the way he acts has filigree. Is that he's really good at those little grace sounds or ums or little like vocal elements that sounds exactly like a normal person would speak, but are obviously very skilled performance on his part, because it sounds authentic without sounding over the top, and also without sounding like someone who's not very comfortable with public speaking or says ums or pauses a lot of the time. He's got that down in a way that I find really inspiring and like a little bit jealous, to be honest. I'm like, you sound like a normal person, but you're very skilled at sounding like a normal person. And I had to sit down and like listen to it a couple times and be like, what is it that you are doing? That is that. And it's those grace notes. It's those little tiny, you know, kind of sounds that I'm just really impressed by, because again, I come from prose narration where you don't want any of that, because those sorts of grace notes are drawing attention to the performance and not the words, and the presentation of the words is what's important in that kind of performance.
But you say that, but it's really interesting to see how there are some shows out there where that line is starting to blur, one of which is Neighbourly. The moment in Neighbourly that hooked me is in the first episode. It's when Matty goes from that very softly spoken, wonderful kind of charming narration to dropping into the argument between the daughter and the mom in the first house, and it goes from it's all calm and like this to any day now, mom, and then goes back out. And you can subvert things by crossing that line. You can subvert expectation.
I think that's absolutely starting to be played with a whole lot more. I'm sorry, Ben, we're talking right over you.
No, not at all. I'm enjoying listening.
See,
like, I think. No, I don't think I have anything useful to say. I think we're done. I think I'm good.
Okay, everybody, let's do a last call for questions then, because Ben's been talking for 90 minutes now. We should probably give him a break, or we're going to be here forever with shenanigans, unfortunately. It's going to be a very late night. I hope I don't have any early meetings tomorrow. I haven't checked.
We only have to get out of the house before 8.
Oh, God, that's right. We have an 8 a.m. appointment tomorrow. Okay, that's going to be fun. Whee!
Whoa!
No sleep till Brooklyn.
Coffee, motherfuckers.
Yeah, exactly. All right, I'm going to give everybody... Did you hydrate? Has everybody had a drink?
I've hydrated.
Here, have a drink.
I will shortly hydrate more. There will be no hydrating on this watch.
No hydrating. Have more drinks. All right, I'm not seeing any other questions coming in. So it might be a good time for us to say good night.
Okay.
All righty. Ben, thank you very much for joining us.
This has been a delight.
I know that this has kind of gone all over the place. It wasn't just terribly focused.
Pleasure. No, it's great. It's just a nice chat. It's good stuff.
Thank you very much for your time. This has been lovely. And inspiring, because, you know, you're very, very good at what you do, and it's really nice to kind of spend time with you as a buddy, and also as someone who I'm able to go, God, he's really good at what he does. This is amazing.
Well, likewise.
Oh, dude, thank you.
It's been really interesting during this conversation because, you know, you don't talk over people, and you have different conversation styles. But I think the two of you are so used to working or speaking with each other in that kind of recording mindset where it's like, and now I will go. And now it is my turn. It's been kind of hilarious. Like, especially at the opening monologue, we're all sitting there like,
this is fantastic. Well done.
Don't make any noise. I'm listening. It's such a habit, isn't it? I wonder if people have like done studies on or had more dialogue about how performing in podcasts like affects their listening to podcasts. It certainly like impacts, like I'm much more discerning now about things like that effect didn't work for me, or ooh, that dropped my disbelief, or this could have used some balancing, for sure.
And we're back to the soccer banquet.
Right?
Stop breathing.
Yeah, I'm definitely a lot more conscious of it's the soundscape edits for me, and the that sort of stuff. Like you need a solid soundscape because that pulls me right out if it's like actually and it's weird if some of the like the really like high level or like blockbuster stuff have really bad edits, especially in their trailers of like I know I listen to Behind the Bastards on the iHeart Radio network, which is obviously massive, and they have all these like really big ones of like, oh, Blumhouse produced this one, and you listen to the trailer and you're like, that's rubbish. But the monster sound effects of somebody be like, "Whoa, I'm turning into a monster," and you're like, all right, that sounds amateurish, and it's like, this is Blumhouse. You should know what you're doing, shouldn't you?
Yeah, but think about it. I mean, think about the last 18 months, right? So Hollywood has ground to a halt. They're not buying anything. There's nothing in the pipeline. Every frustrated screenwriter out there in the world maybe has a B-level actor on some kind of retainer for their project. And all of them went, well, I'm home. What can I do? I'll just shit out a podcast. How hard can that be, right?
Which, by
and
the
so
way,
they're all doing a Dr. Horrible, aren't they?
Right, exactly. And
just shit out a podcast.
And now we're being flooded with good talent and great stories, but BS execution, because that's where they didn't spend the money.
There is a company, and I'm not sure whether they still do this, but about a year ago, their tagline was, "This is not just a podcast." And every time it came up, I would often out loud go, "Yes, it fucking is."
I think the good question for that as well, of like, this is not just a podcast. The question is like, well, then what is it?
Exactly.
What's your actual positive statement there? Like, what are you doing that's different?
Like, what was that thing you watched that Apple TV did, which was absolutely a podcast that they animated?
Oh shit, Voices. Yeah, Voices was great. It was it was a podcast set to an iTunes visualizer. Basically, it was 15-minute episodes, all of which are phone conversations with people as something odd happens.
Because, that's a trope we've gone back to in contemporary audio drama.
And they all end up being linked, and it's actually very well written and quite well designed. But I came out the other side of it going, this is a podcast. I've listened to variations on this for a decade.
But all they did is, did this line visualization art where they were like, oh, there were secret clues about the interrelationships between the characters and the lines.
Secret clues.
I'm like, it's a screensaver that you maybe put some text on to try and sell this to Apple as opposed to selling it to Spotify.
Look at the fascinating abstract patterns. You're listening to Missy Elliott, I can tell. Stop it.
It's just, it's so weird that mainstream moneyed media still needs to do this whole, oh, well, we're not creating that podcast pedestrian thing. We're creating art. Quick, give me
Californian on
quick, give me all the money in the world, because what I'm doing isn't that pedestrian podcast thing. I'm doing art. And meanwhile, the rest of us who've been in the podcast trenches for 10, 15 years are like, excuse me, motherfucker, stop stepping on my head. Thank you. I'm sorry.
Also, quite frankly, if you're trying to do that thing, if you're not doing creature comforts level, like, visual support for that kind of stuff,
exactly,
why even fucking bother?
Exactly. Brief cultural context. Creature Comforts is a series that Argon Animations, the folks behind Wallace and Gromit, did, where they took vox pops, just the kind of interviews with people on the street, and animated zoo animals talking with those voices. One of which
It's
is
so good.
it's amazing.
Okay, I need to see this.
One of which is like a cheetah just hanging out in a tree, voiced by this Brazilian guy. The important thing is the meat, the fresh meat. It's really good.
The number of like visual gags they've worked into it alongside the vox pops of like, it's that classic thing of they've not just added something, they've elevated it.
Yes.
And like the
Love
vox
it.
pop, like if it was scripted it would be crap, if it weren't animated it'd be crap. But the fact they've taken this natural, like actual people talking and have animated it with their stop motion is just it just sends it to another level.
Okay,
It's
I've definitely
wonderful.
gotta see
I will
this.
dig these out for you. They're really good.
There's
Yeah.
definitely some sketches that are dodgily pirated on YouTube.
Yes.
It's gotta be. There you go. Thanks, Alia.
Thanks,
Hey, cheers,
Alia.
Alia.
Brilliant. And then we have one from Mick for you, Ben. I'll ask again for Naomi as she's gone to bed. What did you channel for Matthias in St. Kilda?
It's just an horrible little weasel, man.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about Matthias?
Well, yeah. So Matthias is one of the residents of St Kilda, who is sort of set against our hero Lockie, played by Alan Bergen. And yeah, he's like the sort of second in command to Andromeda, who's sort of the community leader on the island. He's very much the kind of person who kind of leans around the back of her and is like, yeah, you know.
You are the Flava Flav to her Chuck D. All
Yes.
right, fine.
Yeah,
There we
yeah,
go.
absolutely. So yeah, I mean, for channeling stuff, I don't know, like nothing specific. Just imagining he's like a nice guy. You know the nice guy. I don't want to say incel, but I'm gonna say incel.
See,
Yeah.
because my analogy for him is Starscream.
Oh, that's perfect.
He's Starscream.
On the contrary, Megatron.
Right?
Yes.
Exactly. He's the Weasley little shit who you can trust as far as you can throw him.
Well, absolute. I should have done this kind of voice for him. That would have been a lot more fun. I don't know if it would have fit, but it would have been great.
That's how I think of him in my head. He's Starscream.
I mean, the thing is, Andromeda's name is a good. It's a good space name. You'd be like Andromeda.
We can now exclusively reveal that in episode 9, someone finally goes, Matthias, yes. Why are you a
Hello?
75-foot tall robot that turns into a jet? No reason.
Sorry, Mick, we're gonna have to do some re-records for Ben.
Well, that is actually speak with the Master of the Universe thing. That's one thing that I have liked is obviously Mark Hamill doing doing
as
the Joker but with
Skeletor.
Skeletor.
Now they just need to cast him to play Cobra Commander, and like the
Yeah.
combo will be complete, right? Oh God.
I'd love to do a Skeletor style villain, like a proper Saturday morning cartoon villain.
Oh, that would
yeah.
be so cool. It was the only thing I liked about X-Men Apocalypse, the fact that Oscar Isaac was directed as Apocalypse in that. By between takes, the director would go, 60% Skeletor this time, please, Oscar. And he'd be like, got it.
Oh, anything that lets you screech and chew the scenery. Ugh, good stuff.
I know. Okay, so we have to figure out how Proletariat High has an absolutely over-the-top headmaster villain for Ben to play.
Yes.
I'll take it.
Damn you, children. Great.
No, children, it is I who am correct. Yes, exactly.
We good?
I think we're good. That was a good chat. That was lots of fun.
Thanks, buddy.
Thanks very much. It's been lovely to be on.
I know we're so busy creating content these days. That's why we do this. We do the interviews because every once in a while it's an excuse to get an hour and a half to hang out with a friend, and you can pin them down and produce content and hang out with somebody.
It's why Stella Firma exists, so that I can hang out with my brother.
Aww.
And our streams exist just so we can hang out with my brother. You've got to commoditize everything, otherwise how can you just enjoy each other's company?
I know. How else are you going to put up with
How,
that?
I've been meaning to ask that. I haven't seen the stream yet. How badly did Man of Medan go?
None of us died, although we
Dude.
tried really hard. I got Julia shot in the head, but apparently she survived, which we were both very surprised about. It just grazed her temple, and I was like, wow, it is easy to get any of these characters killed, because I did not handle that situation well.
There's there's another one. I think they release them every year because like the Dark Pictures anthology, all the games are in like the common universe, or at least that's how they portray it. And last year we did the Little Hope Witch Trial E1, and there's a new one coming out this year,
which is group of special forces discover secret temple under the desert, just filled with murder, just so much murder.
Awesome. That sounds.
Oh,
really fun.
I've heard the Little Hope, because I heard that was better than the Man of Medan, because I heard that Man of Medan was. Yeah, I've seen the thing of Man of Medan being like, it was fine, and to be honest, as people who watch the stream, I have some issues with the framing device. Because if you're hallucinating, then nothing is real, and like, where's the stakes? There are no stakes. Oh, it's surprising, you know. It's like, whatever.
Yeah.
I'd rather something real was killing us instead of it's each other, but we're crazy. It's like, all right,
Well,
fine.
Unfortunately, they kind of lean on that concept for Little Hope as well.
It's riffed on in a different way,
It's
but
riffed
there's
on
a
in a
strong
different
case
way.
for saying it doesn't work differently.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, at least if it's a witch trial thing, they have kind of a historical basis of mass hysteria. Like, that's kind of what was happening, is everyone was just imagining problems or, you know, executing prejudices under an excuse, but whipping each other into a frenzy, right? Like, so from that framing device, it makes sense, I suppose. I don't know if they have also spooky witch gas.
I'm trying not to.
Yeah.
They do not have spooky witch gas. I'm trying not to
Well,
spoil
that's good.
anything, but they have a kind of "or did we" reveal at the end.
Oh,
And I think what they've
just
right.
stick with the conclusion. It's fine. You don't need the little twist at the end. It's like, it's okay.
The good news is, from what I can tell of the third one, it really is no, this soldier has had his face eaten right off by something terrible. He's not going to show up later and go, oh, but that was not really my face.
We just need a good, honest face eating.
Yes,
right?
exactly. That's all I ask out of a Halloween anthology game. Just good, honest
face eating
murder.
Yeah.
Well, it's the classic Alien thing. What's the story? Alien. What's it do? Kill people. Great.
I'm in.
Done.
Have you seen the PS5 remake for Dead Space?
I've seen of it.
Oh.
Yeah.
I love that game. It scared the crap out of me. It's the game that has best done the you are in space, you are in vacuum mechanics. And they did it all with sound. It's all about the fact that you can maybe barely hear yourself breathing, but everything is muffled. And the remake is going to be much more immersive, I think, in a way that I don't necessarily enjoy in like science fiction stuff. I kind of like that shiny edges and slight disconnect from reality, but what it's really gonna do is pull up the horror elements of it, and I'm like, oh, okay. So we're definitely on the horror side of the horror sci-fi divide for this particular remake.
I'm very there for that.
I'm interested by the whole like. Sorry.
No, go.
I was just saying, I'm interested by the whole like full remake of it and how much they deviate from the original and like what they choose to amp up and what they don't and where their focus is. You know, whether they go more. Well, it's just interesting because it's been 12 years since the original.
Don't do that kind of math.
No, but there's but then there's a lot of like horror titles which have come out, and so it's kind of evolved the genre, and whether or not they're going to do something a little bit more procedural, if it's going to be more actiony or more horror-y, because like Dead Space was a little bit of that mix of, it was an action game and a shooter where you had to target limbs and stuff, but then it had sort of those horror trappings of like jump scares and stuff, and because it was very much out the same school as like Fear, which was again like it was a military shooter but with spooky bits in it,
with
and
spooky
like
bits, exactly.
Especially as I think we're also getting, I think it's Project Ganymede, which is the original Dead Space team. Doing what looks an awful lot like Dead Space, but you're on a prison on the moon. On one of the moons of Saturn.
So, Dead Space does the Riddick. What was it? Butcher's
Bay. Yes.
Bay.
Yeah.
That'd be good.
Yeah, that'll be really good.
So some good old lasering of man.
Okay, you're talking to somebody who was so scared that I literally yanked the casing out of the controller charge cable I had plugged in when I was playing the PT. Do you remember PT? The little demo they released for the
I've watched it. I've not played it.
Literally hurled myself backwards off the couch I was sitting on. I was so scared.
It is the most instantaneous transition I've ever seen a human do from upright to I am parallel with the floor and not sure I can move.
And I've thrown the controller backwards over my head and yanked the cable out and ripped it. It was... I love the Silent Hill games. They are arguably one of my all-time favorite video game series ever. And, like, the psychology of the third game is just like, I've read people who've written, like, PhD papers on it. I just absolutely love it. But that thing scared the ever-living out of me.
There is probably another one.
Here's a fun fact. I've actually, and I wouldn't be surprised if you know him, to be honest, but I've worked with the writer of Dead Space.
Really?
Really?
Yeah, Anthony Johnston.
Very cool.
Yeah, he did some writing for a game that I was on, like a little while back. It was nice. He's a cool guy.
The world is officially very small.
I know.
Anthony was one of my first bosses.
I knew you were gonna know him.
God.
I just got that vibe. I got that vibe that you'd know him.
It's his island, right? Exactly. You are one of those nexus points of the universe that you, like, if you know Alasdair, you know everybody at one remove. You are our Kevin Bacon.
It's the comic retailer thing. Eventually everyone comes through the shop.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm officially going too late. I need to go.
Okay, yeah. I'm sorry.
Thank
I'm
you
sorry.
so
I'm wrapping
much,
it.
Ben.
Thank you very much, Ben. We really appreciate it.
No,
We would happily do this for hours and hours, but maybe let's do it again sometime.
Yeah, we should.
Yeah, I enjoyed this with the indication of we've done like double the time, so it's been nice to have a chat.
Right? Totally. Alrighty, everybody,
All right.
We're going to take a quick break and say goodnight to Ben, and then we'll come back and have a chat about if we're going to do any shenanigans or not tonight, okay? We'll be right back. Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye.